Hi, David Cantor speaking. Well, Eileen McCully, how are you? Yeah, I'm just sitting here right now working on the promo for your appearance on UUCC Zoom In Live. Yeah, we're really looking forward to having you on the show. I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about voter registration and the election, some of the other justice issues you're involved in, perhaps some things about your involvement in church governance, and of course, we want to hear more about you. Yeah, it'll be a great show. No, I promise, no silly jokes, nothing about your dancing bear experiences in the circus or about your being a street urchin in Sri Lanka and how you made it to the States. None of those kinds of things at all, I promise. Yeah. Well, look forward to seeing you on the show. Take care. Bye now. Okay, gang. UUCC Zoom In Live, Monday, September 14th, 8 to 9 p.m. with my co-host, Will Barrett, and our special guest, Eileen McCully. Looking forward to seeing you then. Bye now.
We gather as many drops, each winding our own path down life's surfaces and ruts. Here we pool together as a single body, flowing together for a time. Together we are a stream, at times even a river. With our shared force, we can travel toward oceans of meaning and seas of connection.
Water is sacred to all life. Life began in water, and we cannot live without it. This morning in worship, we're going to share our main experiences about water and the central part it plays in our life. I know I normally welcome you from the sanctuary, but today I decided that the Shaker Nature Center was a very good sanctuary from which to welcome you to worship today. So, welcome to worship.
Hi, I'm Valerie McFadden, and I'm joining you from my home for a mingling of the waters. This water is from my tap, and I'm always grateful to have such easy access to clean water. May this water refresh our bonds, renew our spirits, and nourish our community.
Every week when we gathered, we took time for what we call joys and concerns, where people had a chance to come here before service and light a candle in silence, or to write in our book and have their joy or sorrow read with the congregation and put a pebble in the water. We can't do that right now, but I'm thinking about all of you. I know there are several joys in our community. For that, I'm grateful. I also know there are difficult times for people, and people have sorrow. And that sorrow deserves support and care. For all these things, and lastly, for gratitude for us being together, I light our candles.
Water unites us. All water is one water, shape-shifting as it goes on in its unending cycle. The stream we gather by unites us with all the waters of the world, for all life depends on water. That's why this common, everyday element on which our very lives depend is sacred. In our thankfulness for water, let us remember to honor, cherish, and care for it, for our own lives, for all life is touched by water, and for those who come after us.
Hi everybody, I'm Lori Albright, and behind the camera is my husband Brian Larson.
Hi everybody.
Welcome to our backyard. This is the water that we enjoy all summer long with our retreats, our pond that we built. Please enjoy the scenery, including our guardian frog, hopefully the goldfish, and perhaps the garden snake.
As we celebrate water communion, we look now to the history of this ritual. In 1980, two Unitarian Universalist women, Carolyn McDade and Lucille Shuck Longview, were asked to create a worship service for the Women in Religion Continental Convocation of UUs. As they shaped that service, McDade and Longview wanted to create a new ritual that spoke to our connectedness, to one another, to the totality of life, and to our place on this planet. They included a new inclusive symbol of women's spirituality, water. They write, "Water is more than simply a metaphor. It is elemental and primary, calling forth feelings of awe and reverence. Acknowledging that the ocean is considered by many to be the place from which all life on our planet came, it is the womb of life, and that amniotic waters surround each of us prenatally. We now realize that this worship service was for us a new story of creation. We choose water as our symbol of our empowerment." The November service, held in East Lansing, Michigan, was called "Coming Home Like Rivers to the Sea." As its creators, McDade and Longview enacted their ritual in the liberating space of a semicircle around a large earthenware bowl. They asked 8 different women, each coming from distant places, to bring water, and they did. Water from the Rio Grande, rainwater from Maryland, water from the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, and others were poured into the earthenware bowl as each bearer described its significance. As the ritual is continued, says Carolyn McDade, water deepens in meaning for us, just as water deepens during its long and winding journey to the sea.
Hello, it's Mike and Lucy Carney, and we're here at the Solstice Steps in our hometown of Lakewood. And of course, you can see the lake right here behind us, and the lovely Solstice Steps here. We moved to Lakewood several years ago, but we actually moved here from Vermilion, Ohio, which some of you probably know is also a lakeside community. We can't imagine living where we're not close to the water. It's very spiritual to us to be able to connect with the water. We love being in a place where it's not that long of a walk or a bike ride for us to come down here and come to this place where the sky and the land and the water all come together.
Somos hermanos, yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea, I sail in you sail in me. The stream sings into the river, the river sings into the sea sings into the boat that carries you and me. Somos hermanos, somos hermanos. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea, I sail in you sail in me. The boat we are sailing on was built by many hands. The sea we are sailing on touches many lands. Somos hermanos, somos hermanos. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea, I sail in you sail in me. The voyage has begun and never stays still. With a song that was put together in we will. Somos hermanos, somos hermanos. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea, I sail in you sail in me. So with our hopes we raise the sails to face the winds once more, and with our hearts we chart the waters never sailed before. Somos hermanos, somos hermanos. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea,
This creek, or crick as we say out here in the country, runs through our farm. It joins up with another creek that runs through our farm and then runs into Mill Creek and into the Grand River and then into Lake Erie. And they originated in the Thompson Ledges. Up on the hill above here, in 1854, my great-grandfather built a Disciples, or he donated land for a Disciples of Christ church. And folklore has it that this pool is where they dammed up the creek to have baptisms. The last baptism was in 1918, and the church was torn down in the 30s.
So I love this time of year. I love school supplies. I love seeing what new zippers and pockets they've managed to fit into new backpacks. I love the idea that the year starts when it starts to get a little bit cold, or at least a little bit less hot. It's a new church year as well, and of course, that means that today we're celebrating one of our most richly shared rituals, which is water communion. And somehow this year that is so out of sorts, and probably because it was absolutely pouring on Monday, I weirdly was thinking about school and water together, which brought me to, without a doubt, one of my favorite ever educational book series, and my favorite version from that book series. The Magic School Bus Goes to the Waterworks. I don't do a ton of sharing books, and I'm not really planning on reading this out to you all here. I realized that this favorite book of mine, though, really shapes how I think about water in a big way. Even though it is an old book and one that I really loved when I was a kid, it still has taught me a great deal about what it means when human hands are part of the particular interdependent web that water makes. Now, if you don't know about the series, and Miss Frizzle and her Magic School Bus, Miss Frizzle is a science teacher with a school bus that can go anywhere and lets the students experience what they're learning, like an ideal educational format here. Weirdly, this is her first ever trip. They will end up going to the solar system. They will take a trip to the human body. They will go to the center of the earth. But weirdly, their first trip, they thought they would go to a water treatment plant, which I always thought was amazing. So the kids in Miss Frizzle's class, they start out by learning all of the things about the water system, but then they actually get to join in, and they actually get to participate. They become water vapor and get to go up into a cloud. They get to come all the way through and fall as raindrops back into the world. So the kids in the class that Miss Frizzle is supposed to teach here, they actually get to experience the water cycle. And reading this as a 6 or 7 year old, with all the images and those diagrams and just the illustrations, it had this indelible effect on me. Has that ever happened to you? Where a book or an image or a picture or something was so good at explaining something that now it just becomes part of how you see the world. I don't know, I certainly didn't know at the time how important Miss Frizzle and her Magic School Bus were going to be until I was much older, and thinking about water in an entirely different set of ways. Because water is also, without a doubt, one of the most important religious symbols that exists. It's part of every tradition, and it's central to important rituals and stories in every tradition I can think of. There are ritual baths and other kinds of cleansing rituals in Judaism and Christianity and Islam. There are death rituals in rivers in Hinduism. In Buddhism, nirvana is likened to a drop of water that falls into a flowing river. So water keeps us clean, it makes us holy. It's a medium that connects us, and its branching flow is used as a metaphor for our connectedness. What's interesting, though, is that Mrs. Frizzle She did not emphasize any of those things in her book. None of those thematic or spiritual dimensions were there, because water for Miss Frizzle was a thing in the world, and it made the weather, and then it got dirty, and then human beings needed to drink it. So through miracles of science and engineering, it comes out of our faucets, and we can live lives of ease and convenience because of it. So what I have to say, of course, is that, being a scholar of religion, nothing that comes to me that is either tense or contradictory or anything like that is ever going to stop me from going forward. So that's very much when I realized that both ways of seeing water were crucial, because I could see all of those spiritual things, but also realize the absolute immensity of our part as human beings in understanding what water means. That water is, spiritually rich, and also a sort of precious and impermanent natural resource, and part of the natural world, and the product of human intervention. That makes water mean so much more than I realized it had meant, either just when I had read this book, or only thinking of it from the standpoint of those religious traditions. Because water isn't only part of our rituals, and it's not only a stand-in symbol for life and our blue planet. It's also like an economic resource that is scarce at times, and it's menacing at others. Sometimes it's so full of salt or pollution that even in an ocean, it might as well be a desert. At other times, you could dive into a Lake Tahoe or Crater Lake, and water seems both perfect and inexhaustible. Our interdependent web is not made of water, but water pools at many of its intersections, both physically and metaphorically. Those intersections aren't simple or clean. Like Miss Frizzle taught me, part of it is a big septic tank full of the grossest grime that human beings can produce. And part of it is our best efforts to strain and filter and purify it back to something we can use. Part of it is just water being water, which flows and streams and moves and pools. Something that makes up a huge part of who we are, even though every single day it slips through our fingers. I mean this very seriously to all ages. Don't forget the books you loved as a kid, because they really do have so much to teach us still.
Since the pandemic began, the Watkins family has enjoyed hiking the Cleveland metro parks. Almost every weekend, we have explored the natural resources around us, and we have especially enjoyed the creeks and rivers we find. Our dog loves it too. We're constantly reminded of how precious our water resources are, and we have enjoyed playing in them as we continue to explore them.
Remember that you are water. Cry, cleanse, flow. Remember that you are fire. Burn, tame, ignite. Remember that you are air. Be still, focus, decide. Remember that you are earth. Ground, build, give. Remember that you are water. Cry, cleanse, flow.
The river is flowing, flowing and flowing. The river is flowing back to the sea. Mother, carry me, the child I will always be. Mother, carry me back to the sea. The river
Each week, we come together as a people. Together, we share stories, love, aspiration. We also share our bounty in ways that express our religious UU values. May this important ritual of sharing abundance remind us that making our world better is a task best shared.
Hi, I'm Mary Schatzman, and I'm in my happy place. Behind me is the Tuscarawas River, and on the other side is the Ohio and Erie Canal, and in between is the towpath. This is what I like to walk. It's a beautiful, constructed place, easy to get to, healthy, and got nature all over the place. It's gorgeous.
So every morning, Walt and I come down to this pedestrian bridge on Euclid Creek. It's a small branch that comes through South Euclid and heads down to the Euclid Creek Park and into Lake Erie. We come down here to feed the fish. There's a group of about 20-some fish down here that are here when there's low water, when there's high water, they're always there. We come and feed the fish and honor the water. Today it's really clear as I bring the fish come and I'm all over to feed my dog. This water is clean enough anyway to support this group of fish. It's a good place to meditate. We look to the upstream and downstream looking for deer and any other wildlife such as herons that are here.
All things have a nature. All beings have a nature. All things have a core. It is the nature of water to find the place where the elevation is lowest, and there, with other molecules of water, to gather together in a puddle, a stream, an ocean. Water does not have a will, so to speak. Water is not a god. Water is, in the driest of terms, a compound. It is made of two elements, hydrogen and oxygen. In their combination, these two elements become something wholly unlike their previous things they've been before. There is an almost magical transformation that happens because of the combining of these elements. Or at least it would seem like magic if it weren't so common. Is there any wonder why our human ancestors marveled at water so much? It is capable of being liquid, solid, and gas. Even as children, we learn early on the three forms of water. In nature, clouds get heavy with water. The water comes to earth in the form of either rain and liquid, or snow and ice sometimes in the form of solid. And yet, it is all the same substance. Were I a different kind of pastor, I might pause here to draw an allegory about another trinity that is the same substance in three forms, that has and will continue to coexist in all three forms as one from time before counting into eternity. But that's someone else's miracle. Water is eternal, though. Without water, life itself would not exist. We depend on water each day, water to quench our thirst, to cleanse our bodies, our home, our clothes, to grow our food. And yet water refuses to be domesticated. In our service today, we honor a 40-year-old ceremony created by Unitarian Universalist women that was meant to show that no matter our origin, no matter the journeys we've had in this life,
we have come together as one. In Unitarian Universalist congregations across the globe, at the beginning of every church year, people have been gathering annually around a common vessel, adding their water to the water of others, a way to symbolize a renewal of our covenant. This year, there is no common bowl. There is no gathering in the sanctuary. And yet, we are coming together, for that is our nature as a community of faith. We may not be gathering in the way water does, at the place with the lowest elevation, but in many ways we gather in a place of greater gravity, our community, where we can be grounded in the presence of other human beings, called by our covenant to be our best selves. And unlike water, we do this voluntarily. Once again, we've had to make concession to this global pandemic by not gathering together in a common place around a common bowl. But as Mike Carney observed, all our water does and or will meet, if not in our sanctuary, if not in our own hallowed ground, then in Lake Erie. Lake Erie, the hallowed ground of the Erie people who lived here before 1658. That's when they were decimated in warfare by the Iroquois nation for helping the Hurons in the Beaver Wars, which was a conflict about trade routes. Before Moses Cleveland arrived in 1796, people lived along the same shores we do now. Before Lorenzo Carter moved here, others lived here, though we don't have their names recorded. This year, Lake Erie will be our common, sacred communion bowl. And from Lake Erie, with Lake Erie, our water will join the water of other congregations. As water gathers, so do people. As water adapts, so too must we people. Water is the combination of two elements. Communities of people are the combination of two or more elements. And in their combination, hydrogen and oxygen are changed, transformed into their new state of being. How has your commingling with the members of your faith community transformed you? Have you become a different person? Pardon the pun, have you become more fluid? Have you discovered the power of the collected, gathered people, the way that water molecules can shape the earth? It is said that no rock can withstand the power of water. I hope that our water communion today reminds each of us to consider and renew our covenant to be together in new and deeper ways. Let water be an example demonstrating to you that as a gathered body, we can transform. We can respond to nature and change form. We can do harm as well as good. When we do harm, let us sincerely apologize and return once again to our best selves. Let us choose always to be life-giving.
Hi, I'm Steve Dell.
And I'm Peggy Lagodny. And there are many types of streams that flow through our cities. Not all of them are above ground.
And here's a perfect example of how we're all connected. Anything, little thing you do affects others. As you can see, this storm drain, water goes through it, and it ends up at Lake Erie. Or you get your toe run over.
Okay, go ahead, dump the water.
All water is sacred. Even the water flowing here through this temporarily swollen creek at the Nature Center is part of the whole. This is the water that flows to Lake Erie, that flows through our taps and through our bodies. Through water, all life is connected. There are no strangers. There are only cousins, some of whom are more distant to us than others. As we prepare to leave today, I want to encourage you to take care of yourself and all of the cousins you have, whether you know them or not, because we're all connected. And hopefully because we're all connected, like the water.
Lonely, lonely, I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dry heart can sing. I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my remote home. Sun, my